It's so great to be here today. I really thank you guys for inviting me to your congregation. I typically don't work on Sundays because I'm at church, but I made an exception because I'm in a church. So that's the reason why I accepted your offer, Virginia. I was like, I don't work on Sundays, I'm at church. So I'll talk to you guys today a little bit about Just Bakery, how we came about, what brought me to the organization. I'll tell you a little bit about our director and some of the programs and services that we're offering. And then I'll open it up to a question and answer session. I'm sure you guys already know we have some of our baked goods that we're selling outside, and I'll tell you a little bit about our market lead and just a little bit about his amazing story too. I'll also share a testimonial from one of our other bakers who's been with the organization longer than I have. I came on about 2 months ago, and she's been with us for a little over a year, and she talks a lot about what the organization's done for her, her family, and how she's using it to leverage her entrepreneurial goals. So you'll get a little bit of that. Since I'm here at your church today, I usually don't do this, and we definitely are a non-denominational. So our organization, our director, Leah Lonsbury, she really believes that this is her ministry, and so she has this idea really came out for her moving through life with her passion and really wanting to serve the community as she felt that it was her calling from God. And although we don't explicitly, talk about like how we're a religiously based organization, Just Bakery is definitely based on a lot of religious foundations, and that's one of the reasons I joined also. So I actually start with a Bible verse this morning since I'm here. So I'm going to start with Luke 11:41. But give that which is within as charity, that is, acts of mercy and compassion, not as a public display, but as an expression of your faithfulness to God. And then indeed, all things are clean for you. So I love that Bible verse so much. So it says to give that which is within as charity. And we can say charity is love, charity is so many things, just giving to people and loving people. That is acts of mercy and compassion, not as public display, but as an expression of your faithfulness to God. So I think that that's just really, really amazing, because I know some of you guys might know a little bit about the refugee community here in Atlanta. And a lot of times, you may hear about social organizations that are, doing all of these great things, and, they're just outwardly so amazing. But it's like, what is the foundation for doing what you're doing? Why are you helping the people that you're helping? Do you feel sorry for these people? Do you, feel that, let me just try my best to extend my hand out to someone who's poor or weak? Or do you really see this person as an equal to you, as God sees us all, as Jesus sees us all? We're all brothers and sisters in the Lord. So I really love that Bible verse, because one of the so our mission is to train, certify, and to provide, so I'll say that again, we provide paid job training, certification, and professional development to refugees in the Atlanta area. Every time I hear that word, refugee, it just strikes me. I think it's important, right? So the best way to classify the work that we do is to say that we help people who have faced some extreme difficulties in the other countries and have moved to the United States to seek asylum. The issue is that once they are here and they're resettled in the United States, in the Atlanta area, they're now our neighbors. And so I feel like when we say that word, it kind of creates a disconnect. So we have to be careful with how we use it. But again, because it's one of the easiest ways to classify what it is that we're doing, and it has just that impact. So you hear refugee and automatically you're like, strife and challenge and conflict and war and but what I like about Just Bakery is that we give these individuals who have experienced so many things in their life an opportunity to recreate their stories. So I like to use the term new Americans. Okay, so when you are a former refugee, you sought asylum, you're here in the United States now, and you really want an opportunity to assimilate into your community. You really want an opportunity to provide for your family and live out the American dream, just like we all are. I personally joined the organization. I'm a first-generation born American to parents from the West African nation Sierra Leone. Fortunately, my parents were not refugees because they came to the United States right before the Civil War broke out. So they didn't seek asylum. My uncle actually was a doctor, so he was able to bring my family here. A lot of our distant relatives, some died in Sierra Leone during the Civil War, during the conflict. But even not necessarily being directly classified as a refugee, growing up in an immigrant household as a first-generation American, although there were many different things that I had to adjust to, being bicultural, being an American girl, and all of these mixed identities that I was like fighting with growing up. It was really interesting because one of the most important things in my household was always money. It was always figuring out how my parents were always trying to figure out how to economically sustain themselves in a new country and also navigate all of the new systems. It was just really burdensome, to say the least. Thankfully, my father's an engineer and my mother's a nurse. So my parents worked really hard and they got opportunities despite, differences and things that they faced in their life. And so economic stability is so important. I'm a first-generation college student in my family. I'm the only woman in my family to have went to college and received a 4-year degree. Outside of my cousin, who's a male, I'm the only one with a graduate degree. Well, I don't have it yet, but I'll have it in May. So I'm claiming it now. But so these are just some of the things, and that would have never been made possible if my mother did not have the opportunity as an immigrant here in the United States to assimilate, to develop herself, to economically support and sustain her family. And so this is some of the reasons why I really joined Just Bakery, because I truly believe in the mission. And Leah, who is our executive director, having a Master of Arts in Theology and really saying that she was convicted by God to create this organization, those were the two things that just sold me completely. So I'm really, really excited for this role. I'm the training manager. So what I do is I train our new American employees on customer service best practices, managerial tips, and then I also connect with different partner organizations to bring people in to teach things like financial literacy and other life skills. Because as I said, it's one thing about the economic support, but it's also that navigating these complex systems. We have enough trouble navigating our own government, right? It's super complex. So you can imagine the challenges and the fear of individuals who are coming here and they're so confused. And also too, it's that language barrier. Many of our employees actually speak really, really good English, and I always encourage them to communicate more. And I think right now when we're doing like the community outreach in the markets, it's really great for them because a lot of them were not comfortable speaking. Oh, I don't know if I'm, saying this correctly. And I try to tell them, like, we as Americans, we barely speak any other languages. Like, you are good. Like, I don't think you understand how amazing and intelligent you really are. And so those are just some of the things that I try to push on them as well, is just to get them more comfortable with speaking to crowds and coming out and engaging with different communities. It's really, really just awesome. So let's see. So Just Bakery started in 2017. So we're very new. We are just hitting our 1-year birthday. I came on just about 2 years ago out of a very generous grant to our organization. And let's see, 2017, Leah developed Just Bakery out of hurdles identified by the International Rescue Committee. Does anybody know who the IRC is? IRC is a huge global humanitarian aid organization with an Atlanta office, and their mission is to really help with the resettlement process of newly arrived Americans who are on refugee asylum status. And so their office is out here in Clarkston. I'm sure we all know about the diversity in Clarkston and how this is a landing point for a lot of new Americans. And the IRC is one of our partners, so we actually recruit people who have resettled in Atlanta to Just Bakery. Right now we're operating with about 10 staff that are from the community, all from different places in the world, different stories, and different time frames. So some people have been here for a few years, some people have been here for about 7 or 8 years, and they've really had the opportunity to develop themselves, which is really cool. Let's see, we pay a living wage. So starting off in our bakery, our employees start off with $15 an hour. This is something that's unique. Yeah, this is definitely something that's unique. It's well above the market value for this type of job, and it's paid job training. So a lot of what we found were 2 major hurdles that came from that the International Rescue Committee identified, both having to do with access to continuing education and job training. So those are the 2 hurdles that we address directly through paid job training and continuous professional development. So our employees don't have to forfeit economic stability for the sake of learning new skills. So I think that's also something that just makes us very unique. Because you might see a lot of volunteer organizations, which are awesome, right, around the community that will help teach English or will help with financial literacy skills. But are you able to go and do these things if you're not working? And so it's really, I really love that about our organization. So we're a social enterprise, which is pretty interesting as well. Me and Virginia were kind of just chatting about a social enterprise organization. I think this is really innovative, if you could say that. So we operate like a business, right? We sell baked goods, we bake, we sell our products, we market our products similar to a business. But we're also a 501c3 nonprofit organization. So we receive donations, we do fundraising, and we get grants. But we also generate revenue from our sales. When we're selling out in the community and our amazing customers are coming by there, they're putting money, it's like you're getting a service, you're getting some really good baked treats, by the way, they're really delicious. But you're also putting dollars back into the pockets of these individuals. So I told you we have a diverse revenue generating stream. Our funding sources are pretty diverse: grants, fundraising, and revenue from the markets. But most of the revenue that we make at markets actually go directly to personnel costs in our budget. So literally, when you're spending money and you're buying that cinnamon roll or you're buying those cookies, you're actually contributing to our payroll for our staff. Let's see what else. Some new things that are coming around right now. So again, we're very young, and I just really want to thank you guys because we have seen such tremendous support from the community for just being around for a year. I think that it's really encouraging to see how supportive people are of the mission, how compassionate people are in the community, and how understanding they are. So a part of this talk, as I told you, was to basically come here, explain who we are, but also sort of frame our organization in a way where we're not looking at this operation as helping the others who are coming in from other countries, but really saying we're helping to economically stabilize our neighbors, and so that's just really one of the things that I really want to stick today, if nothing else. Let's see. So predominantly, we've been baking at United Methodist off of Memorial Drive. It's a commercial kitchen, a very small kitchen. We started off with 4 or 5 part-time bakers, and I said now we're at about 11. If we include management, we are at about 14 staff members, which is pretty impressive for just a year. We have added about 6 new employees in the last 2 months, and that's all thanks to the financial contributions from the community, the support, the fund, the grants, and whatnot. So that's really awesome. So we went from baking at the United Methodist Church and doing and participating at local farmers markets and selling our goods and people finding out about us there, to receiving a really gracious grant from a church recently, about 2 months ago. That grant actually funds my position. And so this grant is allowing us to open a storefront. So we actually have a storefront that's coming in Tucker. We are at 2344 Main Street, Tucker. We're leasing a space and we're sharing it with Keller Knapp Realty. Wesley's one of the overheads there, and he owns just about half of Atlanta. So he's very, very merciful to us as far as our leasing costs. And the interesting thing about it is it's in a great location. The people, the residents of Tucker, some of you guys may be residents of Tucker, they're really excited for us to come. We didn't anticipate a lot of the protocols that are in place, I guess you would say, at the city and county level in Tucker and DeKalb. And so right now the holdup to opening the storefront is really getting the certificate of occupancy, which is contingent upon some slight construction modifications, but of course we have to make sure that we have the funding and everything balances in order to do that. So we're actually on the hunt. I think we almost have a contractor secured. We had received extremely high quote that was just not nonprofit friendly at all. And so we're kind of working with a new, good. All right, perfect. No worries, I'll stop. So we're working now with hopefully a new contractor who can give us some numbers next week and just start this process as quickly as possible. We really want to be open for Christmas. Kind of the vision of the storefront. So again, we'll be right in the center in Main Street out in Tucker, and we will be franchising Refuge Coffee. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of Refuge Coffee. Refuge Coffee is a similar organization to Just Bakery. They also hire, train, and certify new Americans. But one of the things that's unique about Just Bakery is that we offer the paid job training and professional development. And so Refuge is a great partner. They're very well known. They're good friends, and we're going to be bringing in some of their coffee to the bakery. So you can, anticipate having some sweet treats, some really amazing coffee, and you're contributing to such great causes. We're also hoping for the storefront to be a place where we can build community. So if any of you guys are hosting events and you would like to use our space, it's a very open space with a lot of seating. It's just a very collaborative environment. We really want the storefront to be a place where people feel comfortable with hosting their own community events. And, we just want the compassion to just continue to just grow. So that is some of the stuff about Just Bakery. See you, friend.
Elsewhere?
Yeah, great question. So we're going to continue to bake elsewhere and transport it to the storefront. If we were to try to do that, I think that the process of this will take a lot longer than it already has. It's really fascinating, we're like, okay, well, maybe we can just bring in, I've tried Model A, and it's like the project management in my head. I'm like, option A, option B. Let's just get the storefront open. The community is ready, Let's forget about the modifications for right now. Let's open until the end of the year and bring in prepackaged goods. Okay, there's all these other things that you have to consider when doing that. And so we're like, maybe we should just hold off and just wait to see if we can just achieve our big vision in the quickest time possible. I mean, if you even slice a bagel, you're gonna need a sink, and it's amazing. It's amazing regulations. I'm not opposed to the policies and procedures that are in place by the government. I'm sure there are valid reasons for all of these things, for safety and hygiene purposes, but that's just pretty much where we are. Any Tucker residents, our draft plan is sitting on the desk in Tucker. If you guys want to call your officials and say, we're ready for Just Bakery to open, can you stamp this paper already? Because we had a really gracious architectural firm, Gensler, who's a worldwide known. I mean, I think they helped remodel Shanghai Airport. They're amazing, and they looked at Just Bakery and was like, we'll draft, your storefront plan. And they have a lot of knowledge about, interfacing with the government. They've sent the plans over, so they pretty much know what's necessary. We are literally just waiting on that approval. We're sure our plans will pass. We're just waiting on the approval. The approval actually will allow for the construction modifications to begin. So the construction modifications can't even start until the state reviews what we're saying we're going to modify. Yeah, it sounds like a lot, but we're very hopeful. And truthfully, like I said, I mean, it's totally fine to talk to you guys about this because I'm in the church. I believe that when you're seeking God through your projects, He's gonna make a way. You know, like a lot of the things that we've ran into in the community might seem like serendipity to some, but I think it's just the outcome of a lot of faith on on the side of our executive director. So I will read you guys a quick snip from Bima, who's one of our assistant kitchen managers, and this is a testimonial about what Just Bakery's done for her. So Just Bakery, this is Bima Thapa. So let me see, I don't think it's written in here. So Bima actually is a Bhutanese woman. Bhutan is a Southeast Asian country, and they have been it's been a long time. They've been experiencing a lot of like ethnic issues, and that's what's caused a lot of their refugee crises. Bima actually lived in a refugee camp for 12 years before she was resettled in the United States, which I also think is quite fascinating as a myth buster, because a lot of times people are like, we need to limit the amount of people that are coming in from other countries because we just can't guarantee like who they're affiliated with and things of that sort. While I'm definitely not making an argument against national security, we need it terribly badly, right? But the resettlement process for individuals to come to the United States is very lengthy. You have to be really, I would say, blessed, lucky to really get resettled in the United States of America. It takes a long time. You have to be someone that we're experiencing in this time. So I think it's fascinating to know that when you see individuals here from other countries, they're screened. They've probably been in their situations for a very, very, very long time. Some have lived in refugee camps for over 12 years, like Bima. So Bima, she rose to leadership and management in the kitchen quite quickly. And I'll read you guys a little bit about what she wrote. So Just Bakery of Atlanta not only bakes goods, it also creates a new story like mine. I'm Bima Thapa from a Bhutanese Nepali community. I've decided to join Just Bakery of Atlanta in early 2017 when one of my friends from the IRC talked about it. Before that, I was just a YouTube baking learner. When I got a chance to work, I trained in Just Bakery. I've learned a lot about baking and I'm still learning. I felt so lucky that I found the best mentors in the bakery. They shaped my skills and helped me to bring out a variety of breads and goods. Now I'm the assistant manager in the kitchen and I train new employees. All of us in the kitchen are from different backgrounds. We share stories and we love to bake for families all around our community. Just Bakery provides financial support and it pays a living wage for me and my family. And that's pretty much the end of it, I think. So, yeah, and pays a living wage for her and her family. So right now Bima is actually on vacation in Nepal. I just want that to settle in for a second. You know, like she's worked with Just Bakery for just a year. She's been able to economically support herself and her family. She originally said that she was going to school for nursing, and she said that it just didn't click to her. I mean, she didn't know what it was, and then she realized that this was kind of in her lane. It was her passion because she's getting to learn a lot about management. She's meeting people with different stories, similar to hers, but all different from all around the world, and she's getting an opportunity to develop new skills and train individuals. Again, none of this is at the expense of her financial stability. I think it's awesome. Right now she's vacationing in Nepal, and so that's just something that's really amazing. She's been gone for about a month and a half and will be coming back soon. But this is just some of the stories that I like to share because it's just awesome. That's what we want. You know, can you imagine fleeing from an area and then coming on and living in a refugee camp for 12 years and then finally getting to go back to your country with a new nationality, a new story, and financial stability. So those are just some of the things that we do at Just Bakery. We're continuing to grow. We anticipate the storefront is going to be an amazing project. Please stay in touch with us online to see when the grand opening finally is. Again, bug your elected officials at Tucker if you're a resident. And I'll go ahead and open it up to any questions or answers.
Will your website show which markets you're currently selling at?
It surely does. So if you go to justbakeryatl.org, and we have some handouts here and I have some business cards. You go to our event section. Just about every week we're updating it. Because the storefront's not open, we're trying to make sure that we're still generating revenue. And so we've been doing a lot of pop-ups around the community, so it's great to be here today. We have a consistent pop-up at our storefront location that occurs on Wednesdays from 2:30 to 6 p.m. and Saturdays from 10 a.m. until 1. That's on a weekly basis. You can catch us there. Does anybody go to the Decatur's Farmers Market?
Yeah.
Beautiful farmers market. We're there on Wednesdays.
Yeah. Wednesdays in front of First Baptist Church. They're there every Wednesday.
We are there every Wednesday. I know Decatur may be going on like a seasonal break for a little bit. But yeah, we're there also. So those are just our weekly sales. We do catering. So if you guys we've done wedding cakes, we've done birthday parties. We've recently hired a new head baker, and she's coming in with a lot of experience, and she's getting to train a lot of our employees. And so what we're saying is our menu's changing. There's some like hits on the menu that just aren't going away, like those giant cinnamon rolls are just amazing. But I think that over time, if you stick with us, you'll start to see a lot of cultures and traditions coming out. I want my mom to actually share her recipe of rice bread with the bakery and come in and train. And so you might see, a combination of, we already have that, but as time goes on, we're gonna definitely get more and more creative and draw on a lot of the cultures and backgrounds of our staff members, and you can start to taste that in a lot of our food. Yep.
Do you lease the kitchen space?
The kitchen space at the Methodist Church off of Memorial Drive has offered us that space for free, but they are saying that there's a possibility that they're gonna have to begin to charge rent for some reason or the other. I'm sure it's just budget constraints, but they've been really gracious to us. For over a year, we've been there rent-free and been able to produce our baked goods. It's a very small space and we are growing. And so we're considering other commercial kitchen options. The storefront, as far as the kitchen at the storefront, that's definitely not gonna be an option. But I know Leah, our executive director, is considering other options currently, especially if we're gonna begin to pay rent. We may as well possibly have it a little closer to the storefront and also just have a little bit more space because again, we're growing. We went from like 2 or 3 people in the kitchen at one time to, we catered an order for care, which was huge. It was like 600 items like about a month ago, and there were about 9 people in that tiny kitchen space making all this food for care. And I'm glad I brought that up because I just remembered, again, we're just running into so many blessings because people are just so supportive of Just Bakery and we're so appreciative of it. We recently got a email from Michelle Nunn, the executive director for CARE, and she says that CARE is actually undergoing a project where they're doing a cafe and a shared workspace. So CARE is just an amazing global humanitarian organization, and they've asked Just Bakery's goods to be sold in their cafe. So that's also something that's just really amazing. A lot of this is not talent. I really, like I said, it's a blessing.
This is just my idea. It might not work, but approach our church if you want to. We have a commercial kitchen, and I'm sure I don't know if they can do it for free, and I know I used to live in Tucker, so it's 20 minutes into Tucker, I know that. So if you need, we have a commercial kitchen if you want to see what our church is open to or not.
Thank you.
I'm putting it out there.
You see what I mean about the blessings that just continue to flow? Thank you so much. I'll definitely get that back to Leah because I know she's considering like a lot of different options right now, especially if it's like a space that's able to accommodate more people than 3 or 4.
Here's a brief message.
This pretzel dough thing with cheese in the middle.
Yes.
I didn't do it through class. I mean, that thing, it doesn't exist anymore.
So is your vision for the employees at Just Bakery that they will come in and get job skills and then move on to bakery jobs other places? Make room for new resumes coming in?
Yeah, so good question. So we want our employees to do whatever they want to do. What my goal is, as the training manager for the storefront project, I don't want to be there. I really want to train my employees to a point where they are managing the storefront themselves. I want to raise leaders. I want to put everyone in their place that they feel comfortable and where their skills can develop. Just like anything, you know, I mean, some people are gonna stick with the organization and say, this is my dream. I actually wanna be a pastry chef. I mean, we would love to see like stories like that, but that can, you know, move her into becoming an attorney. By all means, we want to, if, you know, it's definitely different benefits to working with us. So one is the economic stability, first and foremost, which everyone needs now, regardless of their goals. So we give them the economic stability. We're training on customer service best practices and management, which honestly is a really interesting thing to train on, especially with the population like ours, because culturally, like cultural norms differ in many different places. And I was really shocked at like, you know, actually doing some customer service trainings, and I'm like, they're like, well, we do it like this. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's just really not that acceptable here. And you really don't notice, you think this is common knowledge, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm like, I don't think that you want to tell the person that. And I mean, it's like, things like that. And that's something that we would all have to undergo. If I were to move to another country and I wanted to work in that country and be successful, I would have to get with their norms, you know, to a certain degree. And I think that that's one of the amazing things about our organization, because if you were to just find a job elsewhere, you're a part of this population, you'll learn those things the hard way, right? You'll learn those things the hard way. So to answer your question, of course I would love to see, you know, our employees all become managers, and we have different storefront locations. And yes, there's the GM. He's amazing. Like, he's so much better than me. Like, you guys don't have a clue. Like, he has so much management experience, and he's just great. Of course, I would love to see them thrive within Just Bakery, but we also just want to, you know, leverage them to become whoever they want to be.
How do you, of all the vast numbers of new Americans, how do you choose or select people to work for you?
Yeah, so again, we partner with the International Rescue Committee. They have an employment department, and so they have individuals who are just coming in now, and a lot of people. So to mention, the resettlement process, unless there are other circumstances, it's in effect for 90 days. So imagine, like, people are like, oh, you know, people are coming from other countries and they're sitting on welfare. Like, you get it for like 3 months, you know, like you have to come in, learn English, you get your, you know, food subsidies, you might get a little bit of, you know, assistance from the government to pay your bills, but you're expected to actually work after 90 days. This is extremely challenging for individuals because you're not working if you can't speak English that well. And usually it takes a lot longer than 3 months to acquire the language effectively. So the IRC actually still, beyond the 3-month period of resettlement, they still kind of consult with individuals and counsel them. And, you know, whoever's came through the International Rescue Committee and moved through the employment counseling department, their resumes and their skills, they're always on file. So it's an awesome pool because, like I said, some of our individuals they've actually been in the United States for 5-6 years, and some of them have never even made this much money or like had this type of opportunity. So it also depends on our need currently, just like any other job. What's your availability? What are some of your skills? Are you interested in working with Just Bakery? But yeah, the English requirement just has to be met for us. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Do you ever have any need for volunteers?
Oh yes, we surely do. Well, Jenny is actually our volunteer coordinator. She's our volunteer and market coordinator. So she actually is the one that kind of makes sure that everything's in place for pop-up markets like this. And she also manages a volunteer court. Volunteers actually were the ones running our markets, like at the Decatur Farmers Market and things like that for a while, just because we had a very small staff and they were predominantly working in the kitchen. But since we hired new employees that are supposed to be working in the storefront that we're waiting to open, we're giving our employees and our new employees an opportunity to engage with the community, learn selling skills and customer service skills by working at pop-up markets. So right now, volunteers, although we definitely need volunteers to sort of fill in because we want to do more of this, especially like when the storefront's not open. But we just can't be in every place at every time. So we definitely do need volunteers. It's just not like a structured volunteer program yet, but that's coming. Like Jenny's actually developing that. We're working on that project right now. So towards the end of the year, you guys will actually see actual committed volunteer positions on our website. So we're gonna do like an organizational assessment because I would love to say, yeah, we would love for volunteers to come out to the market, but there's people with some amazing skills and we may need a volunteer coordinator, like a coordinator or someone even on a managerial level that's able to donate 1 or 2 hours a week to a certain aspect. So we really want to be thoughtful about structuring the volunteer program, but right now we're just using volunteers on an as-need basis. So if you would love to volunteer, you know someone who would like to volunteer, that would be great because honestly, if we recruit more volunteers who are willing to actually facilitate market pop-ups, we could actually be engaged with other aspects in the community, in other churches and things of that nature. So just let us know.
If we collect email addresses, can you put them on our?
Absolutely. I actually have a newsletter. If you have a sheet of paper, that'd be great. But I may have a newsletter subscription sheet for you guys to sign up just to stay in contact with us. We send them out bi-monthly newsletters to stay engaged. Anything else? I love this. I love talking to you guys. So anything you want to ask me or?
You know, what other jobs are available to recent immigrants out in Clarkston? I know that the Cap Farmers Market hires a lot.
Oh, that's a good point.
But what else? I mean, there's not a whole lot of jobs available.
Yeah. And, granted, there's not many organizations that are like specifically recruiting this population for jobs, right? But we do have Refuge Coffee that we talked about. They specifically hired new Americans. The Global Growers Network, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. I actually volunteered with them a few years ago. Robin Shannon is the director. Their farm is out in Stone Mountain. They actually produce local food, so it's all like an agrarian agricultural organization. And they train, unpaid, but they train new American farmers to develop local produce and then sell that at farmers markets and do farm shares. So that's another organization that's specifically geared towards this population. But again, you don't find many, I think between Just Bakery, Global Growers Network, and Refuge Coffee, there really aren't that many companies that are specifically focused on this population. So that might be also an opportunity if you guys are business owners or you know other business owners to advocate on behalf of this population. The IRC is there as a branch to use and recruit individuals from. And like I said, a lot of these individuals, you'll be surprised. I mean, like one individual that was working with us, I think he had managed a huge, thousands of people for a huge corporation in South Africa. I mean, his experience supersedes many of ours in this room. So you'll be really, really surprised. So that's an opportunity as well.
I would just like to add, there are companies who do target hiring refugees. Lauren Rocket at the Career Hub that used to be Cafe Clarkston. That's all she does, is work with employers who come out and they work on hiring refugees. And they're open, right now they're getting ready to move to a new space, but right now they're open 3 afternoons a week. And they help them to put together resumes and help them find work in the community. But there are lots of companies, she's expanded tremendously
what did you say the name of that organization?
Rocket at the Career Hub. It's through Friends of Refugees. It used to be called Cafe Clarkson. Lauren spoke here a couple years ago when we had her and somebody else from Friends of Refugees come out and talk about what's going on in the community. She's done amazing work, and she has gotten so many people good jobs. And she doesn't work with anyone who pays less than $11 an hour. I mean, they wish it was more, but she will not take any job that isn't going to pay them less than that to try and create living wages.
That's awesome.
She might also want to think about the Peachtree Road Farmers Market, which is every Saturday through December,
Okay,
as a place to do a pop-up.
nice.
We'll need to wrap.
Sure, yeah. And one thing about that is, so we're in Tucker. There's actually a Tucker Farmers Market, but there's already a baker there, so we don't want to
Yeah.
kind of infringe. There's room for everyone. But as Virginia said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. It was a real pleasure to speak with you guys this morning. I didn't really know what to talk about, but you've been a really engaging crowd, and I really enjoyed St. Barnes. I really have, and like I said, I don't work on Sundays because I'm usually at church, but
Thank you for
this
giving
was
us your
awesome.
Sunday.